$84 trillion is set to change hands over the next 20 years. Whether you're passing it down or inheriting it, the decisions you make today will shape your family's financial future for generations. Welcome to the Great Wealth Transfer, where David Pulcini, CFP, guides you through the strategies, insights, and pitfalls of navigating one of the largest financial shifts in history. What you don't know could redefine your legacy.
Will Social Security run out of money? This is one of the most common questions I get from people nearing retirement and many people that are already in retirement or before retirement, right? And I get why. So we've been working, or you've been working and paying into this system your entire working life, and every headline seems to say something like the Social Security Trust Fund is going broke. And it's obviously scary to hear that, right? So, in fact, I did a search on the most recent Social Security headlines, and I picked a few of my favorites, okay? Here's one. The Social Security tsunami. Payments could be cut by 23%, doubling the poverty rates for American seniors. So that's a headline. Social Security fund may run dry sooner than previously expected, trustees say. So, by the way, this is all in the last week. Okay. Social Security Trust Fund faces insolvency by 2032. 24% benefit cuts loom. Social Security is running out of money. What to know? Okay. As Social Security turns 90, it's racing towards insolvency. And here are two of my favorites in a row, and this is real. Social Security predicted to run out of money sooner due to Trump tax changes. No joke. Right below that. Social Security predicted to run out of money sooner due to Biden tax changes. That is real. So what's really happening? That's what I want to kind of help out with here. Will Social Security actually disappear? Will it just look different than it does today? I want to hopefully unpack some truth, because understanding this can help you plan smarter and going back to the theme of our episodes in the title, retire without regret. So here's how let's talk about this first, how the system really functions. Social Security operates as almost like a pay-as-you-go plan. So the payroll taxes that you and I pay today don't go into a personal account with our name on it. I think we all know that. They go directly to pay benefits for today's retirees. So we put money in, it gets paid out to the retirees. When there is more money coming in to the system than is going out, that extra is stored in the Social Security Trust Fund. So it's kind of like, think of it as the Social Security, the program's emergency savings account. Okay, here's the problem. As baby boomers retire and people live longer, we now have fewer workers supporting more retirees. So that means more money is being paid out than is collected, and that gap is actually getting wider every year, okay? So the estimate is, and this is true, if nothing changes, the trust fund could be depleted by around 2033. And you're going to get conflicting dates on that. But the point is, if the trust fund is depleted, and this is critical, that doesn't mean Social Security goes broke, okay? Even if the trust fund hits zero, Social Security will still collect enough, this is all projected, right, in payroll taxes to cover about that 75 to 80% of scheduled benefits. So in plain English, the checks will keep coming, but they could be smaller if Congress does nothing, okay? That is a huge difference between completely disappearing. So just think about it like this. If your emergency fund ran out, your paycheck doesn't vanish. You would just have less cushion to cover the gap should you need it, okay? So the natural question would be, so how can this be fixed? And there are several levers that Congress can pull, and honestly, none of them are new, okay? You've probably heard these before, but the number one thing we can do is raise the payroll tax cap, okay? Folks, I'm not sure a lot of people know this, but right now, only the income up to about $176,000 is taxed for Social Security, okay? Anything earned above that number is not taxed for Social Security purposes at all. So think of it like this. You make $250,000, the Social Security tax stops at, let's say, $175,000 for easy math. So that means $75,000 is not taxed. If the rule changes, that $75,000 above the cap could be taxed. And that sparks the age-old, the people making $250,000 should pay more into the system versus the other. I worked hard to get there, and my Social Security benefit that I get out won't come close to what I paid in debate, right? So we will let the politicians handle that. But another way that they could pull a lever is gradually increase that full retirement age. And this seems more realistic to me, okay? Right now it's 67, maybe they make it 68, 69 years old, younger workers, and give them time to plan and therefore reserving more of those assets, okay? We could, or they could, adjust the cost of living increases to slow the program's growth slightly. So instead of getting a 3% raise, maybe it's 2.8%. They could slow that down, okay? That would hurt seniors, obviously, but it is an option. Or, by the way, some combination of all three of these. I could give more options. We're going to stop there, but these fixes are politically unpopular. That's probably why they're not happening, but they're also easier than cutting benefits for 70+ million Americans, which is why every serious reform proposal includes at least one of those three changes, okay, that I've seen at least. So here's what we do. We want to control what we can, right? So let's plan as if Social Security might only pay 80% of your projected benefit. And that way, if the system stays funded, it's a bonus. And if not, we're already prepared, right? We've talked about that before. Let's hope for the best and plan for the worst. But then we can coordinate our income sources so that you are not relying too heavily on any one income stream. Going over all the things that we've talked about. We're going to use investments, Roth accounts. We're going to use tax planning, and we want to build in flexibility. And what I would say the most on this episode is don't let the fear drive the retirement decisions. Okay, Social Security is not going to disappear, but the rules may change. And smart planning now is how we stay ahead. Okay, you've worked too hard to spend retirement worrying about something that you can plan for. So we can plan for this. It also doesn't make sense to worry about something that we cannot control, right? So if there's cuts or we need to make adjustments or Social Security runs out of money, which we've talked about, we can plan for that. So we want to build the strategy around what you can control. And as always, if you want help creating a personalized retirement income plan, that is what we do. Visit our website, reach out anytime. We have links to schedule first meetings. I can introduce you to an advisor, all of that fun stuff. But for now, make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Great Wealth Transfer Podcast. If this podcast resonates with you, reach out to 6 Point Financial Partners at 585-485-6048 or email dpulcini@6pointfp.com.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. Information here is provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither 6 Point Financial Partners, Private Client Services, nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of 6 Point Financial Partners. They do not necessarily represent those of Private Client Services, RFG Advisory, their employees, or their clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by 6 Point Financial Partners or RFG Advisory, or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives through Private Client Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory LLC, RFG Advisory, or RFG. A registered investment advisor. Private Client Services, 6 Point Financial Partners, and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.